Hey guys, grab your calf and get comfortable. What if the Empire didn't lose the Death Star plans to some flawless rebel masterstroke? They lost them because two ISB supervisors were too busy arguing over who owned the case, while the galaxy's most dangerous secrets slipped away. Sounds almost too small for the mighty Empire, right? Let's settle in for a cozy deep dive and uncover how those office rivalries inside the Imperial Security Bureau handed the rebellion its biggest early win. Let's ease into the context first, the kind that quietly makes everything fall into place. We often picture the Empire's security forces as one cold, perfectly synchronized machine, stormtroopers and spies all moving under a single iron will. But the Imperial Security Bureau, the ISB, was never that straightforward. Born under Compnor as Palpatine's internal watchdog, it hunted threats both inside the Empire and out in the wider galaxy. From the start, though, it shared the stage with Imperial Intelligence, two powerful agencies with overlapping missions, both hungry for the same funding, the same praise, and above all, the Emperor's attention. It feels a bit like two departments in one building, each trying to prove they're the most indispensable. You can sense the quiet friction building already. Palpatine didn't just tolerate this competition, he nurtured it on purpose. Divide and rule, the classic Sith approach. Keep your security arms at each other's throats and none ever grows powerful enough to threaten the throne itself. That same energy rippled straight into the ISB's daily life. Major Leo Partagaz ran those Coruscant boardroom meetings with calm precision, but underneath, supervisors constantly jockeyed for position. They reported on sectors, budgets, arrests, and watched one another like hawks. Lieutenant Blevin protected his territories with smooth territorial instinct. Across the table sat Lieutenant Dedra Meero, sharp, methodical, and increasingly certain that scattered incidents were forming a larger pattern. Picture the calf cooling while they debated jurisdiction instead of actual dangers, classic office tension. Except this time, the stakes stretched across entire star systems. But why did these everyday turf battles end up mattering so much on a galactic scale? Let's step a little deeper into that boardroom snake pit. Imagine the ISB headquarters, sterile white walls, a long polished table, the low constant hum of terminals. Partagaz presides, watchful as ever. One supervisor updates on surveillance needs in a distant sector, another offers a vague note on local disputes. Then Blevin mentions a messy event on Ferrix, a stolen NS-9 Starpath unit recovered after some unrest. A handful of deaths, on the surface, just another incident. Dedra Meero had been quietly connecting threads. That Starpath unit wasn't random. It tied into missing components from naval yards and odd supply disruptions that crossed supposed sector boundaries. When she requested fuller access to Blevin's files, he pushed back firmly. Why was she stepping into his territory? The unspoken question hung in the air. If she cracked this, who looked slow? You can almost feel the room shift. Sharing information started to feel like handing over power. Partagaz eventually gave Meero more room to pursue the pattern, but the small cracks in trust had already widened. Dedra continued piecing things together that others preferred to keep separate. A raid in one place, a missing shipment in another, unusual activity that didn't match the usual profile of isolated troublemakers. She built her investigation methodically, even as whispers suggested she was inflating a minor threat to boost her own standing. Blevin wasn't alone in guarding his turf. The whole sector system rewarded ownership. Each supervisor treated their slice of the galaxy like private domain. Passing intel along often felt like giving away advantage. Meanwhile, the still young rebellion learned to slip through exactly those gaps. They counted on the Empire's own fragmentation. It's quietly ironic. The Empire's premier security force spent energy safeguarding its org chart, while the real threat assembled puzzle pieces that should have stood out clearly. And these internal issues didn't stay contained within the ISB. They touched the highest projects too. The Death Star itself fell under advanced weapons research closely linked to Imperial Intelligence rather than the ISB. Information between the agencies rarely flowed smoothly. The ISB handled internal loyalty and rebel suppression. Imperial Intelligence focused on military threats and external intel. When it came to guarding the Empire's ultimate weapon, those neat divisions left dangerous blind spots. Meero's growing picture of coordinated tech thefts should have triggered alarms across sensitive programs. Instead, the silos persisted. Palpatine's deliberate design kept everyone competing for favor, so genuine teamwork often lost out to making sure your counterpart didn't shine brighter. It's like having every eye on the next promotion while the actual vault sits half-watched. Small fractures can spread quietly. Now hold on to your seats. Check out what these fractures caused. The ISB's double agent, Supervisor Lonnie Young, caught up into Dedra's sloppiness. Dedra was so rushed and obsessed on figuring out the case, she left crumbs on the floor. Lonnie followed them and suddenly finds himself with gold. The Energy Project, aka Death Star, the Gorman Project, Narkina 5 Prison Assembly, Jedha Mining Melancholy, a name, Galen Erso. Lonnie was able to send the information to the Rebel Alliance via Luthen Rael's clan. On top of that, Galen Erso, the Death Star's lead scientist, smuggled a coded message to the rebel extremist Saw Gerrera. The Death Star's blueprints, weak points, and the storage location, Scarif. The ISB and Imperial Intelligence were leaking big time, without anyone noticing because they centered around their own internal beefs. They became a huge mess for the Empire. That brings us to Scarif itself. Rebels launch a bold strike on the heavily guarded Imperial data facility, hunting the complete technical readouts of the Death Star, but the ultimate prize. On paper, the Empire should have shut it down quickly. Scarif bristled with defenses. Those plans ranked among the most classified secrets in existence, yet the response felt fragmented from the start. Key intelligence that might have flagged unusual rebel movements or suspicious patterns had been slowed by the same familiar rivalries and turf protection. As fighting erupted, coordination between ground troops, orbital support, and the scattered intelligence branches lagged. Silos that had seemed like minor office issues suddenly mattered at the worst moment. Before the full picture sharpened, the rebels transmitted the plans off-world. Princess Leia's ship, the Tantive 4, slipped away, carrying the galaxy's most dangerous data. The raid that looked nearly impossible succeeded not because the rebels were superhuman, but because the Empire's security machine had been quietly undermining itself. And here's the quiet payoff that circles back to where we began. The Empire didn't lose those Death Star plans solely to rebel brilliance. They lost them because the very office rivalries Palpatine cultivated created the perfect blind spots. Dedra Meero spotted pieces of the larger threat earlier than most, yet the system valued guarding credit more than sharing truth. The two-headed rivalry between ISB and Imperial Intelligence kept more energy focused inward than outward. In the end, that built-in dysfunction delivered the rebellion its first genuine strategic victory and started the long road toward the Death Star's fate at Yavin. It leaves you thinking, doesn't it? Even the strongest-looking regimes can unravel from small everyday fractures they choose not to mend. What stands out most to you? The way ambition quietly poisoned collaboration, or how Palpatine's own strategy may have sown the seeds of weakness? Share your thoughts down in the comments. I always enjoy reading them. If this relaxed deep dive into the Empire's shadows felt like a good calf chat, drop a like, subscribe for more cozy Star Wars lore explorations, and tap the bell so we can continue the conversation next time. Thanks for spending this time together, friend. Until our next dive, stay curious out there in the galaxy. May the Force be with us all.